Hello, welcome to Talk to Mentor Season 2, where we teach you the ins and outs of being an author on Webnovel. Today's topic will be story outline and character development, so stay tuned and take everything in. An outline is crucial for every author. Writing the outline is essentially writing the story. So while writing an outline, you are actually perfecting the setting and plot of the novel. Because in the process of composing the story, the writer has to consider where the story happened, what kind of person the protagonist is, when will the protagonist meet whom, and what important events will be encountered, etc. Of course, there are some authors who work better completely without outlines and just prefer to wing it. That's fine. However, it is still imperative that the author keeps to a bare bone skeleton to remind themselves of their initial ideas and directions. It could be something as simple as key points in the story, from key battles to key events to the end points of the story. It also helps to ground the author so the story doesn't become something too far-fetched. So for example, at the end of the story, the main character becomes the strongest by killing the major antagonist. So in between, they can have some minor run-ins, and the main character shouldn't be too overpowered before the end of the story. There are a few ways that the author can choose to write their outlines. As mentioned above, the skeleton outline, where they include just key points of their stories to ensure that everything flows neatly, so that it can allow authors to easily add or remove parts without making anything confusing. For example, the progression of a standard Eastern fantasy novel can be as follows. The main character reincarnates into another world, establishing a looming threat. The main character goes to an academy to get stronger. The MC becomes strong and leaves the academy after resolving a large threat. Another type of outline that can be used is the chapter outline. This is a more rigid outline to ensure that the author conveys all they want to convey within a chapter. So this can be something along the lines of Chapter 1. You establish the identity of the main character, establish an overarching threat and goal. Then you bring in a face-slapping scene. For Chapter 2, you proceed onwards to establish the main character's position in the family, making everyone stunned before proceeding to introduce a minor threat. So you include a slight bit of world building in Chapter 3. Similar to outline design, before starting the text, we must first write the basic settings, including the world background, the protagonist's character, the level settings, and so on. Different from the outline, the more detailed settings or follow-up settings need not be thought out before beginning the main text. The writer can create and supplement them at the same time. Therefore, newer writers need to pay attention to the classification of the settings at the beginning to facilitate their subsequent review and supplements. Writing settings and crafting ideas are not the most difficult thing for the author to do, but how to integrate these settings into the story, that is the kicker. So for world building, an outline is very useful when it comes to building your world, especially if you have set your story in a fantasy world. Keep track of the map, the races, and the different species in the world, and even the history and lore. But the crucial thing to remember is not to dump it in at the beginning of the chapters. All these details can be slowly and smoothly incorporated into the world through various means. Instead of chunks of information, try exploring the world as your MC explores it. Meaning your MC can describe what they see and then guess what it is for. They can be wrong or right, but it allows your reader to learn this world at the same time as your MC. Little details which can add up to a bigger picture. For example, if you want to tell your readers about the queen's death, you can first describe the tear-stained face of the servants, or the fact that everyone is wearing mourning colors. Then perhaps include dialogue regarding what will happen to your prince or princess. Readers will slowly get the idea, and by the time you tell them, they will have a much fuller understanding of the situation and even the social hierarchy. Other than description of places and dialogue, another way you can world build is through characters. The way you describe characters' outfits, the way they speak, and how they react to information can all be indicators for what kind of world you're building. Be creative in dispensing your information so that readers get that full rich immersion into your world. So let's talk about easy character development. Good, well-written characters are a strong foundation for any novel and can make a difference between a good novel and a great one. While introducing your character can be easy and doable for any author, a skilled author will be able to give their characters dimension and a realistic, memorable personality. How you portray your character can be done through many ways, such as their appearances, their mannerisms, way of thinking and speaking, and so on. In order to introduce your character in a way that leaves a lasting impression for your readers, aim to describe them, looks and character in a way that allows your readers to discern their type in an instant. Meaning, upon meeting your character, readers should already be able to tell if this is a good person or a villain, if they are meant to be trustworthy or if something is a bit shifty about them. The key to this is simplicity. Narrow it down to your character's core traits. Are they heroic, selfish, or do they just want financial security or social status? Find out who your character is at the very heart of them, and then show it to your readers right off the bat. While it might be tempting to do a nuanced depiction, like having a character who is evil but at the same time kind, this complication can be harder to bring out, especially if you're starting out as a writer. If you're not confident to do this, the advice would be to stick with your character's core traits right to the end. If they are good, keep them good. If they are evil, let them stay that way. If you're worried that this will make them boring, you can try adding in small quirks that will make them realistic and unique. For example, food preferences or a nervous habit. You should also assign each character with a personality trait that makes it easier for readers to remember, such as a love for cars or a talent for cooking. You should also give each character a distinctive physical trait that readers can remember them by, like a limp when they walk, or a signature hair accessory, or maybe they're very petite or extremely tall and gawky. Either way, if your readers can't remember the names, they can still remember the one with glasses who like dogs. Ultimately, keep in mind that your protagonist is a sun that your supporting characters orbit around, and your supporting characters should help the plot and mainly assist the main character. So let's talk about advanced character development. Depicting an intelligent character. When you wish to show how incredible your MC is in terms of brilliance, the easiest thing to do is to show your readers that they are a smart character. One straightforward way of doing this is through hard evidence or statistics. For example, what is their IQ? Or how many degrees or PhDs they have? What age did they start university? Or how many cases have they solved? Do they have a high title? All these are obvious things that immediately signal to your readers how smart this character is. For a more nuanced approach, demonstrate it by having them strategize and outsmart someone bad, or solve a very difficult case very easily. The best way to highlight this is through the characters around your lead character. Did someone else use a calculator but still failed to get the correct answer? While your main character did the math in his head and got it right. Or maybe they saw through a villain's fake plan and found a way to trick them in return. You can also emphasize just how intelligent your lead character is by telling your readers how smart another character is, and then showing an instance or event where your main character manages to outsmart this supposedly very clever person. That will show that your character is better than the best. So, depicting a cult character. Cult characters are popular to write in many novels. Whether you're looking for a cult villain, a cult CEO, or a cult woman who scorns every suitor, or even a child who is cold to anyone who tries to adopt them. A key thing to remember when writing a cult character is to be strict in the lack of reaction. They do not outwardly demonstrate any kind of response the way usual characters do. No smiles or excitement or general effusive behavior. Even their anger is cool, controlled, and very terrifying. The easiest way is to describe them well, both in appearances and mannerism. Their eyes can be steely or hard, and their features should reflect an unmoving emotion. Remember that this corresponds very much with the setup. What line of work they are in, or how they are dressed. This allows the author to bring out more of the quote personality even at work or when they are simply walking down the street. To take this one step further, you can emphasize how quote they are by highlighting the situation they are in. Perhaps something very alarming just happened and everyone else would have gotten a fright or get upset, but they are simply unmoving in the face of it, or if they do something very ruthless and have no reaction to their actions at all. That also demonstrates how cold they are. As an author, you must know why and how they are cold. Is this just their nature, or are they cold for a reason? Is it a learned habit or a forced disguise? This will make it easier for you to have them develop or even melt as the story goes on. Now, I hope this lesson is enough to give you some ideas on how to make use of outlines. And thus concludes this episode. I'll see you soon. Check out part 3 in the description below. Hit that subscribe button for more content. And I'll see you on Webnovel.